It's World Book Day, and I want to share with you the 3 books that I have read or reread in the last 12 months that have really helped me on my journey. And one of the books, Lewis Hamilton gave credit for helping him navigate the criticism he was getting in F1. I'm your host, Daniel James, and as always, if you're new here, welcome. So with each of these books, I'm going to break it down into 3 sort of sections. I'm going to break it down into why I think you should read it. I'm going to suggest what I think you will gain from reading the book, and then I'm going to break down a quote that I thought was really powerful from the book, and hopefully you'll get something from that too. So the first book I want to share with you is called The 4 Agreements, and it is by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's such a powerful book. Now, the reason why I like this book and why I think you should read it is that it cuts through really complicated ideas and breaks it down into 4 simple rules that anybody can follow. And the main things that you're going to get from this book are how to reduce drama in your life. Because it's not necessarily drama that we create, it could be drama that other people are creating, but he talks about how do we actually reduce that. He talks about how can we improve relationships. And the main relationship that I think that you will get from reading this book is the improved relationship with yourself. Because again, it's the 4 agreements. You're making these agreements with yourself, so it's going to help you on your journey. And it's also going to help you find peace, because there's a lot of noise in the world. And if someone like Lewis Hamilton can give credit to this book for helping him navigate criticism in such a competitive world as Formula One, I think you're going to get so much out of it. The things I think you're going to gain from reading this book are practical ways to stop taking things personally, which makes sense. Lewis Hamilton getting all his criticism, he'll be taking it very, very personally. But how many times do you take things personally in your life? By working through this book, you will learn how to actually reduce overthinking, which then leads to this taking things personally, because someone will say something and we get caught inside our own head. And Don Miguel Ruiz really kind of breaks down, well, how do we stop taking things personally and reduce that overthinking, kind of like getting out of our own head, if it were. He then talks about the importance of communicating clearly. So if you're somebody that struggles to communicate or doesn't understand the importance of words, you will gain a really powerful insight into actually doing that. And most importantly, I think you'll gain from this is freeing yourself from unnecessary guilt and judgment. Keyword here is unnecessary. Because once again, sometimes guilt and judgment can be really helpful when it's unnecessary and it kind of feeds into the taking things personally and overthinking. How do we actually free ourselves from that? And a quote that I really like from this book, I'm going to have to make sure I read it so I don't butcher it, is, don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. Again, the reason why I like this quote is everyone's living in their own little world. Again, mentioned here, their own dream. And the reason why I say it's a dream, it kind of links into one of the books I'm going to mention later on, is that we aren't aware. People aren't aware of the patterns that they keep repeating over and over and over again. And because other people aren't aware of their patterns, what tends to happen is maybe you're doing or saying something, it's causing something within them, and rather than realizing it's causing something within them, they may attack you. And then you're taking it personally when actually there's something that's going on within them that they need to look at. So if people keep attacking you for certain things, just question, that's interesting. You've got such a fixation on this thing, what's that saying about you? Now, the second book that I'm going to recommend is, and again, this is one of my personal favorites, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza has got lots and lots of books. If you've never heard him talk, I recommend you try and listen to some of his podcasts. The guy is absolutely incredible. And one of his most famous books is How to Become Superhuman or Supernatural. I can't remember what the book's called. How to Become Supernatural, I think it's called. And although I recommend that book regularly, this book right here, I believe you have to read this first in order to really get the most out of that, because this kind of breaks down the things that you need to understand before you can become this super natural person that we all are, but we need to really understand this stuff first. And the thing I like about this book is it explains in really simple terms why we keep repeating patterns we want to break. It says here, breaking the habit of being yourself. Like, how many times have you done something over and over again? You get so frustrated. We're stuck in this habitual loop and we can't break it. Now, again, there's great books out there like Atomic Habits and the Power of Habits. I'm sure it's what's called, Power of Habits. But this really breaks down the stuff on a subconscious level that you can do. Rather than the conscious stuff, this is really going into you. And why do you keep repeating the same patterns? It's a very personalized book. Although it's not personal to you, the exercises that are in here, if you do what it says and really sit and take note and listen to what's been said in this book, you're going to get so much out of this because it provides you step-by-step instructions. So you want to go into reading this book with an open, honest attitude. If you're not going to be honest with yourself, don't even bother reading it because you're going to get absolutely nothing out of it. But if you are willing to unpick some of the stuff that's keeping you stuck, I promise that you will gain an understanding of how the brain creates these automatic responses to situations. You will understand. Because that's what we need to do. It's all well and good, habit stacking and all this other stuff that's talked about in Atomic Habits. All great. But you need to actually understand, why is the brain doing this? Because once you understand it and once again gain awareness of it, you can then do something about it. And I've been meditating for years, but another thing you'll gain from this book is you'll learn practical meditation techniques. Not just techniques, but you'll understand the stuff behind why meditation works. Because once again, you may think the meditation is about turning your brain off. It's not. And if you read this book, it kind of breaks down the different states and brainwaves you go into through meditation and why it's so important and how meditation actually works. Because then when you understand how it works, you're then going to be more likely to actually do it. And again, break that habit of being yourself. Now, a quote that I really like from this book is, "You cannot create a new future while holding on to the emotions of the past." Now, you may not think that you're holding on to emotions from the past, but the body keeps the score, which once again is another great book. The body understands and keeps and stores these emotions. And if you're not aware, your emotions can control your thinking, when actually your thinking wants to be controlling your emotions, which once again is one of the key principles from this book. Now, the final book is a book that I've never shared before, but kind of links into the principle I've mentioned twice from the two previous books, talking about awareness. And this book is The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. Absolutely brilliant book. Any book that you can read from Neville Goddard, you will get so much from, but this specifically is a great book. And the reason why I think you should read this is because you're going to get practical approaches on how to feel more in control of your life and the circumstances that arise in your life. Because once again, you gain awareness of them, you can do something about it. You cannot change anything unless you gain awareness of this thing or situation that's actually holding you back. And it also will help you get out of victim mode. A lot of the times we blame situations and circumstances and we take no responsibility. But with this, you don't need any special training to get out of that victim mode. This book is it's not simple to understand. There's some very, very complicated concepts in this book. But once you kind of get into it, it's very logical. You'll understand it and it'll make perfect sense. And what you'll gain from reading this book is insights on how to use your imagination to reduce anxiety about the future. Because the reason why you have anxiety about the future is because you aren't using your imagination. Your imagination is using you. So if we can actually correct that and use the imagination for the positives, it's going to reduce the anxiety about the future. And then on top of that, it'll help you approach challenges with more confidence because once again, you're using your imagination for the positive. We used to do this as a child, but somewhere along the way, we got lost. And we're so stuck inside our own heads, which once again is why we do the same things over and over and over again. This is why, again, we take criticism so personally. Because we're not aware of our patterns. We need to gain that awareness. Now, a key quote from this book. To be conscious of being poor while praying for riches is to be rewarded with that which you are conscious of being, namely poverty. So what I'm saying here is like when you are aware of how poor you are, whatever, or again, use poor, whatever it is, or how bad your situation is. So you're aware, you've got the awareness of how bad your situation is, but you want something different. You're only going to get what you're aware of. So what you need to do is just raise your awareness to other possibilities and other options and availabilities that are out there for you. Because if you aren't aware of those things, then you're not ever going to reach for them because you don't think it's possible for you. But you don't know what you don't know. So you need to raise your awareness. Once you are aware there is a different path, you can then take that different path. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in poverty or in the situation that you are currently in. I'd like to share a bonus tip with you. It's not to do with books, but it's how to read and study. Because if you're like me, I've read multiple books. I say multiple books, that's being kind. I've got books behind me and I've got 3 big bookshelves over there. But I never used to retain information. So one of my mentors told me, and this is what I want to share with you for these tips, if you're going to read any of these books, or you want to read a book for self-development, simply don't read and highlight the book. When you are highlighting something because it stands out for you, what I would like you to do from now on is get a notepad, like so, there's a post-it note, and write what you're thinking about from that thing you highlighted. So I've got something here that I wrote down from one of my previous books. So it's just here, so you can see that I'm not lying. It says, imagination equals the scissors of the mind. It cuts the pictures we hold there until it shows up in our life. So I will then stick that on the book page, and then at the end of reading the book, I'll transfer all my post-it notes onto the computer. Because what I then do is I collect my own thoughts from this book. Rather than just highlighting, which is the author's words, I am thinking about what the author has written so that I'm creating my own unique thoughts on that situation. So I have a collection of my own thoughts. And when it's my thoughts, I'm more likely to remember it. There's a little bonus tip for you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you've taken any value from today's episode, please don't forget to like and share with a friend. And what books have I missed from this list? Is there any books here that you think I should read or other people should read that can help them on their journey? If the answer is yes, comment down below and I would love to hear from you. Until next time, take it easy.